Hello everyone, welcome to my Manga Boy Reads Manga. I already recorded half of this video, so I'm going to record it again because you know what? I didn't hit the go button. So let's talk about Kemono Jihen after I tell you to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy this video. And if you find any manga that you like, please use my affiliate link down below to purchase them through Right Stuff. So I read 12 volumes. I'll show you them all again in just a second, but for now, I'm just going to start here because this is where I left off. Kemono Jihen Volume 1. I've been really enjoying this manga. I've read all of this volume. This, I believe, used to be in Shonen Jump, or maybe it was Jump Plus, and 7 Seas picked it up. Essentially, it's about these half-breed monster demons who are, abandoned by their parents, supposedly, and kind of working throughout the world, and this guy picks them up. He's like, listen here, friend, you have a friend in me. And it's like Toy Story. So he raises these kids because he's like them as well. And they go on these little cases to help solve and help people's problems related to the demons that they are half of. So, so the main character is this guy called Dorotavo. He is like half immortal, half dead, half human. So you know how he is. He's like a zombie-ish. He doesn't really have any emotions because his demon half doesn't have emotions. So it's a pretty interesting story. I do really like it so far. Each person has their own different ability based on who, the other half of their family is. So that's interesting. Heavenly Delusion Volume 3. We don't really get too much information in this volume. We find out that the kids from heaven here are dying from this necrotic-like disease, which is pretty interesting. We find out that our main character boy here, despite knowing that his friend is a man in a girl's body, is still all over a pair of boobies, Maru here. So you gotta like that. He also finds out that there's a scientist who's mixing parts of these monsters with humans so that way they can live forever. So that's kind of creepy. And also these weird stone things are coming out of the kids that die from the heaven place. Or whatever it is. I think it's, I don't know. Witch Hat Adelaide or Tillier. This picks up where we left off. We're trying to get to this nice festival. And at the festival, we're going to have a big party. We're going to sell our trinkets and stuff, so everyone's all excited. We get a little trigger warning here, which I thought was interesting. It says, feel free to skip this chapter and go to this page. Nothing of essential knowledge is here, and it pretty much alludes to rape and things like that. So they tell you if you don't like that stuff, please skip it. But we find out the backstory of these kind of guards here, and they're like the elite guards of the Wizard King or Witch King. Hard for me to discern exactly who that is because we also have these other guys here. They're like the main principles of each kind of discipline, which is cool. This is the new Wise, title of Wise and Friendship, for example, and there's a few other of the title of Wise that we get introduced to as well, which is pretty interesting. So a little bit of world building here, but not a lot of plot building, which is good, but also not good. We also find Custis. He's back, and he's got some cool legs. It really ends on an interesting note. So I expect the next volume to be really cool. Big O, it's read like the left to right dweebs that we are, if you're an English speaker anyways. So you'll be right at home reading this if this is your first manga. It follows the beats pretty closely to the first few episodes of the anime. We get a few chapters of, Beck versus Roger without Dorothy, and then Dorothy shows up towards the second half of it. It is... a pretty cool author. The author writes Mega Man. The author of this manga, Hitoshi Ariga, I believe, and Hajime Yatate helped write out Gundam. So we've got some pretty good minds behind these two volumes, or not volumes, but behind this series here. This is a 6-volume set, and it's very difficult to get your hands on these days, which is kind of annoying. But so far, so good. The first one's a little slow because not a lot happens. You're kind of introduced and dropped off into Paradigm City out of nowhere, and you're like, what's going on? So that's kind of too bad, but pretty cool still. We also have a new work by Satoshi Mizukame, one of my favorite mangaka. They usually have very interesting twists that you don't see coming. So that's always great. And we also find out beautiful things about this world in this volume, like how this girl's an orphan and how there is like magic kind of pollution, which is cool. You're not supposed to use magic, but there are these magical creatures and items and things like that. But if you use magic, you're a gosh darn sinner. So she obviously can use magic. Apparently her hair is the length of the magic, and she meets this fairy. The fairy alludes to something bad kind of happening to her in the future. And the fairy came back in time to kind of change things up and do things just a little bit differently. So she's trying to do things the same mostly to a point. And so she does. So I am very intrigued to see where it goes. You can see magic pollution can cause this kind of thing to happen. This man is a mole person now. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what happens more with the story. One character has a sword and they can't die, so that's kind of cool too. And he just wants to die. We find this cool little ghosty thing here, and he turns things into pumpkins, so that's creepy. But yeah, very exciting stuff. I really can't wait to see what the dark twist is that happens later on, because I know it's coming. ShangriLa Frontier, from Trash Game Hunter to God Tier Master. So this is about this guy who likes to play really shitty games that are full of glitches and bugs, and he likes to just abuse the shit out of them, and he like prides himself on beating these games and dealing with them. He ends up playing this God Tier game because he gets bored, and they're like, dude, you should just try it. So he tries it, and he picks like kind of like a bard build, so he sells all of his stuff at the beginning so he can have a ton of money. And he buys this headgear, which is like a bird mask. And he eventually figures out a few things about this world because he's a trash game player. He's used to like all these bugs and unfair things, so he has good strategies in order to get around them, despite them being unbeatable, which is really cool. I'm having a blast reading through this manga. Apparently it is based on some sort of a game. I'm not really sure about that. Probably by the same game name, but I don't know. It does remind me a little bit of Sword Art Online and that other manga I really like a lot. And the name is just escaping me right now because I want to promote it right now. Oh dear lord. Anyways, it's another isekai-esque video game manga. It's called Infinite Dendrogram, and I really enjoy it. This kind of reminds me of a mix of that and SAO, which is cool. They don't get any unique abilities really, but they do get, unique things based on events they complete. So yeah, enjoying it a lot so far. Returner's Magic Should Be Special, Volume 1. It's a manhwa or webcomic. Not really sure how you know the difference anymore these days, but I think webcomic will be in color. This is okay. So this guy is kind of similar to World Salute. He ends up going to the future and failing, and he wakes up and he's in the past again, kind of back to where he started his adventure. And he has, the full comprehension of magic and memories and everything like that from his future self, but he doesn't have the skills of his future self. So it can get him far, but not too far. So he's trying to get together his old party, but his old party is obviously not up to snuff still quite yet. So he's trying to get them up together sooner so he can figure out a way how to, get around the event that he, died at or lost at. We also get, I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. This one kind of just started. So if essentially this guy's like on spring break or winter summer break, and his grandpa dies and gives him this house. Inside this house, he finds like the Lion the Witch, the wardrobe kind of wardrobe, where it translates him to another world. And he gets all these items that are like legendary items. So he is able to like take out everything in this world, and his stats increase. And he gets special skills that make his stats increase faster. But it changes like his actual body. So he goes from this like fat dweeby guy to like this ripped handsome guy. And he breaks all the mirrors in the house for some reason. So when he goes to school, he thinks everyone's just making fun of him, but he's just this like super hot guy, and he's like kind of confused by it. It's pretty okay at this point. I mean, nothing crazy has happened, but it's not very far either. Right Stuff sent it to me pretty damaged, which was really annoying. Their packaging for the September haul was pretty trash. You guys will probably see more about that this week, but. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see the spine like that, but I guess whatever. I mean, it's going to cost more to send it back than buying a whole other book, so not much you can do there. Tokyo Avengers Volumes 1 to 2 Omnibus by 7 Seas. They did a great job. This has a matte and kind of like a glossy cover, as you can probably see. So obviously the words aren't matte, but they're glossy, and then the actual page is glossy, with the character being glossy and the background being matte. So essentially, you guys probably all know the plot by now. This guy falls off the train tracks, about to die, gets sent in the past, and then he gets saved. And he wants to save all of his friends from the past by changing the events in the past, so that way in the future they're still alive. But yeah, so it's a pretty interesting story. You know, obviously Tokyo Avengers is pretty engrossing. I was glad to finally get this in because I had pre-ordered this like 3 months before it came out, and I had gotten it like 3 months after it came out, which was too bad. I also have the 3rd and 4th volume as well, so that's cool. But yeah, I'm more excited to see where this goes. I don't know too much about it because I wanted to stay in the dark, but I am enjoying it so far. It kind of reminds me of just like a modern delinquent manga, which is great because those are also very fun. My Hero Academy Vigilantes. So we're winding down, or kind of winding up. The main villain is getting his ultimate form now. We get to see our main character kind of like outmaneuver him, and we find out that, and this is kind of creepy, that he was actually number 6 was actually basing his look on Koichi, but you don't really notice it because Koichi's always like second guessing himself and not super self-confident, whereas the other guy's trying to be as charismatic as possible. So with that knowledge in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I can kind of see it. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. So we don't really know what his face even looks like, and he's running through the police and everything, and the other vigilantes are trying to evade the police and the other heroes. So it's kind of like a mixed bag of who to root for, the heroes or the vigilantes. JK, it's really obviously to root for Koichi. He uses his like his ranged attack pretty effectively. I forget what it's called, something Go Bang Bang, I believe. So it's a really cool ability. I'm glad that we finally got to see him have some offensive ability. Plus, he has the ability to like triple jump in the air now, which is really cool. The crawler's really killing it, in my opinion. So, yeah, I really like how this manga is ending. I think this is like super good series. If you guys haven't been picking up just because it's a My Hero side story, wipe that thought out of your brain because it is so good. The Fire Force Volume 28, another one that is so good. So this has been confirmed to be a prequel of Soul Eater, if you guys didn't realize that. Still, our main character is gone. You know, not really any Shinra on this besides a flashback. We get to find more about the past through what's his name? Vulcan's past. So Vulcan tells you a little bit about his family. Arthur gets to fight the dragon again, which is really cool. And Archer gets crazy. His name's not Archer, is it? No, that was the other one. His name's Charon. Sorry, Archer was who Charon was kind of protecting for a while. But yeah, Charon gets to do some insane fighting alongside, not Kalik. I always think his name's Kalik because of Soul Eater. But he gets to fight against Ogun, that's it. And so that was a really cool fight. Ogun gets a flashback with Arthur and Shinra as well. You get a flashback from Vulcan, like I was saying, about how Amaterasu was made, and this bug thing, you know, that is in Squad Company, not the main characters, I forget what it is, it's like 3 or something, you know, the science division. So that's creepy AF, you know, this guy. Very creepy. But yeah, really enjoyed this week. This was a blast to read through these manga, these falls. A lot of these I was looking forward to. They were on my like top. I can't wait to read these this upcoming year. So I'm glad I finally got my hands on them because some of them came later than expected. But let me know what you thought of these reads down below in my opinions. Tell me your opinions. Tell me if you read anything cool this week. And I will talk to you next week with the next probably 12 volumes I read. See you then. Bye-bye.